The Starfaring Era, 星間航行の時代Episode 3, The Silent Outpost, What the Dark Remembered. 第3話、沈黙の前哨基地。暗闇が覚えていたもの。The moon had no name on any chart the Vanguard's database could access. It had a designation, Kepler 7 Gamma, administrative classification R4, remote body, no permanent settlement. But a designation was not a name. Names were given by people who had spent enough time somewhere to feel that the place deserved one. Whatever had been on this moon had not stayed long enough for that. The research station appeared on the long-range sensors as a cold signature. Not dark, cold. The difference was specific. A dark facility had been powered down, a cold facility had been powered down, and had been that way long enough for the ambient temperature of a moon, with no atmosphere regulation, to equalize throughout its structure. Cold meant months, at minimum. Mary Parker was at the navigation interface when the sensor profile resolved. She had been looking at the sensor data for 40 seconds before Amir finished his analysis, not because she was faster than him, but because she was reading a different thing. He was reading the technical profile. She was reading the quality of it. The specific combination of an unscheduled silence and a cold reading and a location just far enough off the main transit lanes to be convenient for not being noticed. "Grandpa," she said. Prince Parker was already looking. "I see it," he said. Then, because the situation had not requested his commentary, and he was going to provide it regardless, Earth headquarters sent us chasing ghosts. This is what happens when administrators make operational decisions without understanding what operations actually involve. A decommissioned research post in the middle of nowhere. He looked at this as a possible thing before anyone could answer. Go look at it. He said this to the room rather than to any specific person, which was his method of issuing orders he considered beneath the dignity of detailed instruction. "I'll want full bioscan, structural integrity assessment, and a complete records pull if anything is functional," he added. "And try not to take until next week. The galaxy is not going to wait for this family to finish sightseeing." The shuttle bay was quieter than the mecha bay, a different kind of operational quiet. The mecha bay held the specific, charged stillness of machines waiting to be used. The shuttle bay held the quiet of things, being prepared for something that did not yet have a shape. Mary Parker was already in the shuttle when Princess arrived. Princess came through the bay door with the focused efficiency she brought to every preparation. Not rushing, not casual, precisely at the pace the situation required. She had the sensor package under one arm and her personal data tablet in the other hand. She looked at Mary. "You came early," Princess said. "Yes," Mary said. A pause. Princess understood this was not a statement about timing. She set the sensor package in its bay slot and sat across from her mother. "What do you feel?" Princess asked. Mary looked at the viewport, at the stars beyond the shuttle bay's magnetic field, at the distant pinpoint of the moon's reflected light. "Something happened there," Mary said. "And whatever happened, the people who did it didn't want it found." Princess was quiet for a moment. "I'll run the structural assessment first," she said, "before Cassandra goes after the data records. We need to know the station is stable before we send the frames in." "Yes," Mary said. She looked at her daughter. "Thank you, Princess," she said. Not for the structural assessment plan, for what was actually being communicated. The specific, quiet understanding of two people who had been in difficult spaces together long enough to understand each other's instincts without requiring them to be explained. Princess nodded. The shuttle door opened. Rashim came through with Nishim and Nimir, talking about the moon's geological composition, in a way that was very informative for Nishim and Nimir, who had not asked but were used to this. Amin came through last. He sat, balanced his weight into the shuttle's seating, and was still. His stillness had its own quality, distinct from the stillness of waiting, distinct from the stillness of sleep, the stillness of something that was fully present and fully contained. The alpha aura was present even here, in a shuttle, on the way to a dead moon. It was simply there, the way it was always simply there. Cassandra sat beside him. She was reviewing the station's last filed operational report on her data tablet, a routine biological survey completion notice, filed 14 months ago, signed by a research team of 7. 7 researchers. 1 research station. 1 cold signature 14 months later. She did not say what she was reading. She did not need to, so... The station occupied a shallow crater at the moon's equatorial line, positioned, Amir noted from the ship's sensor station, to maximize exposure to the nearby binary star system's radiation cycles. A research station studying stellar radiation would be positioned exactly this way. It looked intact from the shuttle's approach. This was the first wrong thing. A station that had been abandoned or decommissioned looked a certain way. Airlock sealed from the inside, panels shut down in the deliberate sequence of a planned withdrawal. This station's exterior showed no such sequence. The outer panels were open, not damaged, open, as if whatever had been powering them had simply stopped, mid-operation. "Structure reads as stable," Princess said, her voice carrying no editorial weight beyond the information. "Atmosphere inside is minimal, but the structure has held integrity. We can enter without suits if we're careful about time limits." "Time limits," Rashim said. "The atmosphere processors are offline. We have residual breathable air for approximately 2 hours before the concentration drops below safe threshold." 2 hours, Rashim said. "That's enough time. Barely. If we're efficient, Princess confirmed." On the ship's bridge, Prince's voice came through the communication link. "Stop discussing time limits and start moving. I didn't dispatch a shuttle to a dead moon, so you could all have a conversation about it in the crater." "We're moving, Grandpa," Cassandra said. Already at the airlock controls. The station's interior was amber, not the warm amber of a functioning facility's emergency lighting, the specific faded amber of lighting that had been running on battery reserve for long enough that the colour had shifted from operational toward exhaustion. Every surface caught the light differently, some reflecting it cleanly, some with a dull, unresponsive flatness that meant the material coating had been disturbed. Mary Parker stepped through the inner airlock and stood in the station's primary corridor. She was reading it the way she read everything. 7 researchers, she said, quietly. Not to anyone specifically, and to herself, building the picture. 14 months of silence. The facility has power on emergency reserve, which means no one shut it down. She walked the corridor toward the first open doorway. And no one requested rescue. A distress signal would have been on record at headquarters, Princess said, walking beside her. There's no record. Which means they couldn't send one, Mary said, or didn't have time to. The first room was a standard research lab, workstations, specimen storage, a large analysis table at the centre. Everything on the table was still exactly as it had been left, not the organised left of someone finishing for the day and returning tomorrow. The specific, absolute arrangement of work that stopped mid-process. Amin moved through the lab with the specific, efficient attention he brought to spaces he was assessing for threat. Not for active threat, the station was empty, the sensor sweep had confirmed it, but for the record of what had produced the silence. His eyes moved across every surface systematically. He stopped at the analysis table. "Cassandra," he said. She was already beside him. The analysis table's surface showed a disruption pattern, not damage, not structural compromise. The specific pattern left by something that had been removed from the table very quickly and not particularly carefully. "Research materials were taken," Cassandra said. "Not destroyed, taken." "Selectively," Amin said. He indicated 2 sections of the table's work surface. "These areas are undisturbed. The disruption is specific to whatever was here." He looked at the 2 undisturbed sections. They knew what they wanted. Mary had been standing in the lab's doorway, watching and receiving the full picture before moving toward any individual part of it. "Whoever came here," she said, "came for something specific. They knew this station. They knew what research was being done here." From the communications link, Amira's voice cut through, from her station on the ship managing the sensor feeds and data relay. Sharp. Directly to the point, because Amira Campbell's tolerance for building toward a point was approximately 0. "The station's external communication logs show a transmission received 6 weeks before the last filed operational report," she said. "Encrypted, non-standard protocol. It didn't come from headquarters, it didn't come from the survey network, and didn't come from any registered civilian channel." A pause. The specific pause of someone who has the next part of the information and is deciding how to present it with maximum precision. "The encryption signature matches the radar vessels from the Epsilon 4 transit lane." The lab was very quiet. "The pirates were here," Rashim said, "before the station went silent." "They were in contact with someone here," Amira said, correcting. "A transmission was received, not sent. Someone at this station was receiving communications from the same network that operates those radar vessels." Rashim looked at his sons. Nishim and Namir were running the structural assessment of the lab's secondary systems. Their expressions did not change. However, their work pace had acquired the specific, contained quality of people who had received a piece of information that was now occupying a portion of their processing capacity. On the bridge, Prince Parker looked at the structural scan results Amir was pulling. One of the researchers was communicating with the radar network before the station went dark, Amir reported. He was building the full profile in real time, mapping the data streams as Cassandra's Cyber Viper extracted them from the station's archive systems. The encrypted messages began 3 months before the last operational report. They stopped 2 weeks before the silence. 2 weeks before, Amira said, which is approximately the window in which the selective material removal happened. The contact on the inside told them what to come for and when. Then the contact went quiet. Either the arrangement was complete or the people who came had no more use for the contact, Amir said. The bridge absorbed this. Nicer Parker at his station had been tracking the communication pattern analysis as Amir built it. He pulled a secondary data thread and cross-referenced it against the radar vessel configuration profile from the Epsilon transit lane engagement. "The radar vessels in Epsilon 4, he said. "They weren't operating independently." "Obviously not," Amira said. "The communication protocols," Nicer continued, undisturbed by his cousin's tone. "They match a specific hierarchical network architecture. These vessels receive orders. They don't originate them." "They work for someone," Princess said from the station. She had been running the same parallel analysis from the shuttle's data relay. "A larger organization, whatever was being researched here, Something larger than a pirate operation wanted it. A larger organization, Prince Parker said. He said it with the quality of someone who had already reached this conclusion, and was registering that the rest of the team had now caught up. You're all very slow, he said. I looked at the initial sensor profile when Mary flagged the facility, and understood within approximately 30 seconds that this was not a routine decommission. The pattern was obvious to anyone paying attention. The question that matters is not who came here. It's what they took and where they went. He looked at the forward display. Cassandra, he said into the link. The data logs. What was the research? Cassandra was in the station's archive room. The Cyber Viper docked at the station's exterior coupling, its sensor arrays directly interfaced with the station's remaining functional systems. From inside the station, she was at the archive terminal running the extraction. Stellar radiation mapping, she said. Specifically, charting radiation corridors through the sector's binary system. She was reading as she spoke, her eyes moving across the recovered data logs with the specific, rapid comprehension of someone for whom processing written information was as natural as processing visual information. The research team had been walking on transit route mapping, radiation corridors that would allow high-speed passage through the binary system without causing damage to ship systems. She stopped. She read the next section of the log again. Cassandra, Mary said. The research was 3 months from completion, Cassandra said, based on the team's own progress projections in the last operational report, 3 months from producing a complete chart of safe transit routes through the most strategically significant binary system in this sector. She looked up from the terminal. If someone has that chart, they can move ships through this sector at speeds and on routes that no one else knows exist. The station was very quiet, in the specific way of a space, where something that was previously a mystery has just stopped being one. Hidden routes, Mary said. She was standing in the archive room's doorway, building the full picture from the combined information. Routes that only the people who took the research would know. Routes that let you move through the sector without being detected on standard transit corridors. Supply routes for a larger operation, Cassandra said. Whatever the organization is, they now have the ability to move assets through this sector invisibly. Prince's voice was different from its usual quality. Not warmer, not less sharp, but carrying the specific focus of someone who has received the information they needed and is now running its operational implications at full processing speed. How complete was the research at the time of the last operational report? Approximately 67%, Cassandra said. And 3 months from completion means the chart would be ready now, Prince said. Or very close. Yes, Grandpa. The bridge was quiet for 2 seconds. Amir, Prince said, cross-reference the binary system's known radiation mapping with the estimated completion parameters Cassandra has from the research logs. Build a projection of what those transit routes would look like if the research was completed. Building it, Amir said. Already. Amira, the encrypted communication network used to contact the research station. I want the full architecture mapped, and I want to know if there are other contact points in this sector using the same protocol. Already on the second part, Amira said. The specific sharpness of someone who had been working this thread since the moment it appeared. The protocol appears in 3 other encrypted communication records in the sector database, 2 flagged as inactive and 1 that appears live. 1 that appears live, Prince said. Yes, Grandpa. She paused, which from Amira was unusual and meant the next part required emphasis. It's operating on a relay station at the outer edge of the binary system's second arm, exactly where the completed transit route chart would converge. The bridge held its breath. Prince turned to the main display. He looked at the binary system's star map. At the outer edge of the second arm, at the relay station position that Amira's analysis had marked. He looked at it for 4 seconds. Set course, he said, when the shuttle is recovered. Grandpa, Rashim's voice came through, from the station, where he had been running his structural assessment alongside his sons. The careful, specific tone he used when he had something to add that he knew would be received with some friction. The research team, 7 researchers. We haven't found any trace of them. The communication link was quiet. They're not in the station, Amin said. He had been conducting the most complete physical assessment of the facility, moving through its spaces with the systematic thoroughness of someone for whom physical evidence spoke the same language as tactical intelligence. No trace of departure, no trace of confrontation inside the facility. Whatever happened to the team happened quickly, or happened in a way that left no evidence here. Mary, in the archive room, looked at the last entry in the research team's log. It was dated 14 months ago. Survey continues. Exceptional progress this cycle. Team morale strong. The binary system is extraordinary. I don't think any of us expected to feel this way about radiation mapping, but there is something remarkable about charting paths through what looks like chaos and finding the safe lines. Dr. Elara says it's like navigating by faith. I think she's right. She closed the log. She held the specific quality of stillness she held when she had received something that required not a response but a recognition. Princess, she said. Yes, Mum, Princess said, from the shuttle's relay. When we're back on the ship, the missing researchers, I want a full missing persons report filed with the Earth headquarters before we move to the relay station. I'll draft it now, Princess said. Thank you. She looked once more at the archive terminal, at the records of 7 people who had come to a remote moon to chart safe paths through what looked like chaos. She turned toward the station's corridor and walked toward the airlock. Back aboard the Vanguard, the shuttle recovered cleanly, and the bay pressurized with the specific efficiency of a ship that ran its procedures correctly. Prince was waiting at the bay entrance when Mary stepped through. Not because he made a practice of meeting returning shuttle teams. He was there with the specific, contained intensity of someone who had been processing information at the strategic level for 40 minutes and was ready to share his conclusions and did not intend to wait for a more formal setting. He looked at Mary. She looked at him. The organization, he said. Yes, she said. This wasn't opportunistic. The research team was identified. The contact was cultivated. The timing was managed. He said it with the flatness of someone reporting a structural assessment. This is a sophisticated operation. Whatever is at that relay station in the binary system's outer arm is not a raider camp. No, Mary agreed. We're going to need to be ready for what that means. He said it in the tone he reserved for the very limited category of situations he found genuinely uncertain. Not concerned. Prince Parker's public register did not accommodate concern, but carrying beneath its characteristic flatness the specific quality of someone for whom the scale of what was in front of them had just expanded considerably. Mary looked at her husband. Then we go ready, she said, simply, as she always said the things that needed to be said. He held her gaze for a moment. He turned toward the bridge. All personnel to stations, he said. The ghost is real, and it has an address. He walked. Behind him, Rashim Parker looked at his 4 sons, Nisa, Nishim, Nimir, and Shahim, returning from the shuttle bay, with their sensor equipment and their characteristic synchronized efficiency. Your grandfather, Rashim said, at a volume appropriate to the moment, just admitted a ghost was real. Nisa put the sensor package in its storage mount. I know, he said. That means he was wrong when he said we were wasting time on ghosts. I know, Nisa said. He will not acknowledge this. I know, Nisa said. Rashim considered this. I love your grandfather, he said. He is infuriating, and he is exactly right about almost everything, and occasionally spectacularly wrong, and I love him for both of those things. We know, Baba, Nisa said. Does he know? Nishim passing with a data tablet. He prefers not to. Rashim watched his sons continue down the corridor. He smiled, the specific smile of someone who has been in a family long enough to understand all of its contradictions, and has chosen, entirely consciously, to find them wonderful. Cassandra found Mary at the navigation interface. She had been on the bridge since the shuttle recovery, not assigned to any specific station, but occupying the specific position she occupied when she was processing something that hadn't finished resolving. Standing at a slight remove from the operational activity, watching the star map that now included the relay station coordinates as a marked destination, Cassandra came to stand beside her. The research team's last log entry, Mary said. I read it, Cassandra said. She said charting safe paths through chaos was like navigating by faith. Yes, Cassandra said. Mary was quiet for a moment. That's what we do, she said. Every time, in every era. We chart paths through what looks like chaos and find the safe lines. She looked at the star map, at the relay station in the binary system's outer arm, at the destination that had begun as a cold sensor signature and had become something considerably more significant. We don't always know what we're going to find. We go anyway. Cassandra was still beside her. Receiving this with the focused interior attention she brought to things she intended to keep. The relay station, Cassandra said. I built the projection that Grandpa asked Amir to build, finished it while he was still working on the framework. The completed transit route chart, if the research was used, it maps 17 safe corridors through the binary system. 17 routes that no one else knows exist. 17 corridors for moving things, Mary said. Or people. Yes. Or fleets. Cassandra was quiet for a moment. Whatever is at that relay station, she said, is going to be the largest thing we've encountered in this deployment. Yes, Mary said. I think so too. She looked at her granddaughter. Are you ready? She said. Cassandra looked at the star map, at the marked destination, at the work that she and Amir and Amira had done in the past hour, building the full picture of what was waiting at the outer arm. Yes, she said, not with performed confidence, with the specific, grounded quality of someone who had examined this evidence, assessed the situation honestly, and arrived at a conclusion based on what they knew, rather than what they hoped. Mary put her hand briefly on Cassandra's shoulder. The star field moved slowly across the navigation display as the Vanguard turned toward the binary system's outer arm, toward the relay station, toward whatever larger operation was waiting there, toward the next thing this family would be required to understand and address. The silent outpost was behind them. What it had told them was ahead. End of Episode 3, The Silent Outpost, What the Dark Remembered. 真間航行の時代第3話沈黙の前哨基地離れが覚えていたものその月はヴァンガードのデータベースがアクセスできるどんな海図にも名前がなかった指定はあったケプラー7ガンマ 強制分類 R4、幻覚値、永続的な集合なし。しかし、指定は名前ではない。名前はそこに十分な時間を過ごして、場所がそれに値すると感じた人々によって与えられる。この月にあったものは、そのために十分長くはいなかった。40ステーションは重力センサーに冷たいシグネチャとして現れた。熱くではなく、冷たく、違いは特定的だった。浅い施設は電源が落とされていた。冷たい施設は電源が落とされていて、大気調整がない月の周囲温度がその構造全体に均等化するのに十分なほど長くそうだった。冷たいは焼単位を意味した。最低でも。パーカー・メアリーはセンサープロファイルが解決したとき、ナビゲーションインターフェースにいた。チェンバース・アメアが分析を終える四十秒前からセンサーデータを見ていた。彼より速かったからではなく、異なるものを読んでいたから。彼は技術的なプロファイルを読んでいた。彼女はそのケミを読んでいた。予定外の沈黙と冷たい読み取りと主要な修道レーンからちょうど気づかれないのに都合の良い距離晴れた場所の特定の組み合わせ。おじいちゃんと彼女は言った。パーカープリンスはすでにペンていた。ペネていると彼は言った。それから状況が解説を求めていないのに提供するつもりで、地球本部は幽霊を沿わせた。管理者が作戦が実際に何を伴うかを理解せずに作戦上の決定をするとこうなる。どこかの真ん中の廃止された研究拠点、センサープロファイルを目にた。それから見に受け、特定の人物にではなく部屋にあった。詳細な知識をするにはくすぎる命令を出す彼の方法で、完全な生体スキャン、構造的完成評価、何か機能しているなら完全な記録を取得したいと彼は付け加えた。そして来週までかけるな。銀河はこの家族の観光が終わるのを待たない。パーカー・メアリーはパーカー・プリンセスが到着したとき、すでにシャトルにいた。早く来たわね。とパーカー・プリンセスは祈った。はい。とパーカー・メアリーは祈った。一停止。パーカー・プリンセスはこれがタイミングについての発言ではないことを理解した。センサーパッケージをベースロットに置いて迎えに作った。何を感じているのとパーカー・プリンセスは尋ねた。パーカー・メアリーはビューポートを目にた。シャトルベイの地場の向こうの価値を遠くにある月の反射機構の線を。そこで何かが起きたとパーカー・メアリーは言った。そして何が起きたとしてもそれをした人たちは見つかりたくなかった。ありがとう、プリンセスとパーカー・メアリーは言った。構造評価経過のためではなく、実際に伝えられていたもののために、説明を必要とせずに互いの本能を理解するのに十分なほど一緒に難しい空間にいた二人の人々の特定を手音の静かな理解。パーカー・プリンセスは寒いた。パーカー・ラシームはパーカーにシームとパーカーに見ると一緒に入ってきて、息の電子学的虚勢性について非常に有意義な方法で話していた。求めていなかったが慣れていたパーカーにシーブトーバがニムノードヴェイ。パーカー・アビハジャイホーのルーツウェイト。つわりシャトルの座席に体重をバランスして静かだった。ブラウン・カサンドラは彼の隣に座った。データタブレットです。ステーションの最後に提出された作戦報告書を確認していた。獅子影材に提出されたキリンの研究チームが署名した日常的な生物調査完了通知。キリンの研究者。一つの研究ステーション。初期時風後の冷たいシグネチャ。ステーションはその月の軌道圏の試合クレーターにあった。チェンバースが指摘したように、近くの連合系の放射線サイクルへの露出を最大化する位置に、シャトルのアプローチから無情にフェネータ。これが最初のおかしいことだった。放棄または廃止されたステーションは、ある方法で見えた。内側から封じたエアロスク。計画された撤退の意図的な順序で停止したパネル。このステーションの外部はそのような順序をしたなかった。外部パネルは入っていた。損傷していない。操作の発災中に単純に止まったかのように開いていた。構造は安定していると読めるとパーカー・プリンセスは言った。内部の雰囲気は最小だが構造は完全性を保持している。時間制限に注意すれば吹きなしで入れる。時間制限とパーカー・ラシームは言った。雰囲気プロセッサーはオフライン。約4時間の酸素呼吸可能空気がある。十分な時間とパーカー・ラシームは言った。なんとか。勝率的であれば、とパーカー・プリンセスは確認した。川のブリッジからパーカー・プリンスの声が通信リンクを通じてきた。時間制限の議論をやめて働け。クレーターで会話するためにシャトルを死んだ月に派遣したのではない。働いています。おじいちゃんとブラウン・カサンドラは言った。すでにエアロックのコントロールにいた。 ステーションの内部はカカバフラチだった。機能する施設の緊急照明の高い焦げではなく、白が運用から疲弊に向かって変化するほど長くバッテリー予備で働いてきた照明の特定の色あせたハギョガシギロ。すべての表面が光を異なって受け取った。パーカー・メアリーは内側のエアロスを通り抜けてステーションのプライマリ回廊に持った。いつも読む方法で読んでいた。記任の研究者と彼女は言った。静かに。特に誰かにでもなく、自分に愛を構築して。9ヶ月の沈黙。施設には緊急予備の電力があり、誰も停止させなかったことを意味する。最初の開いたドアウェイの方へ廊下を歩いた。そして誰も救助を要請しなかった。遭難信号は本部に記録があっただろう。とパーカープリンセスは言った。隣を歩きながら、記録がない。つまり送れなかった。とパーカー・メアリーは祈った。または送る時間がなかった。最初の部屋は標準的な研究ラボだった。ワークステーション、標本保管、中央の大きな分析テーブル。テーブルの上のすべてはまさに置かれたままだった。誰かが今日を終えて明日に戻るという整理されたご仕方ではない。進行中に止まった獅子の特定の絶対的な配置。パーカー・アミンは脅威を評価する空間で持ってくる特定の効率的な注意でラボを通り抜けた。アクティブな脅威のためではなく、ステーションは暗だった。センサースイープで確認していた。しかし、沈黙を見くしたもののヘッジのために、雰囲気的でブルでしまった。カサンドラと彼は言った。彼女はすでに隣にいた。研究材料が取られたとブラウン・カサンドラは言った。破壊されていない。取られた。選択的にとパーカー・アミンは言った。ここにあったものが何であれ、彼らはそれが欲しかった。パーカー・メアリーはラボのドアウェイに立ち、個々の部分に向かって働く前に全体の灰を目にて受け取っていた。ここに来た誰もがと彼女は死ぬった。特定の何かのために来た。このステーションを知っていた。どんな研究がされていたかを知っていた。通信リンクからキャンベル・アミラの声が切り込んだ。川のステーションからセンサーフィードとデータリレーを管理していた。シリバロク、翼点に直接。なぜならキャンベル・アミラが要点に向かって構築することへの許容度は片値ゼロだったから。ステーションの外部通信ログは最後に提出された作戦報告書の粒週間前に受け取った送信を示している。暗号化されていた。非標準プロトコル。本部からではなく、調査ネットワークからでもなく、登録された民間チャンネルからでもない。一時停止。次の情報を持っていて、どのように最大の精密さで提示するかを決めている誰かの特定の位置停止。暗号化シグネチャはエプシロン4の修道レーンの力が船舶と一致する。ラボは非常に静かだった。海賊がここにいたとパーカー・ラシームは言った。ステーションが沈黙する前に、誰かがここの誰かと連絡を取っていたとキャンベル・アミラは言った。修正して、送信が受け取られたのであり、送られたのではない。このステーションの誰かがレガケシャダプを動かすのと同じネットワークからの通信を受け取っていた。ブリッジでパーカー・プリンスはチェンバース・アメアが引いていた構造スキャン結果を目にした。研究者の一人がステーションが安くなる前に略他社ネットワークと連絡を取っていたとチェンバース・アメアは報告した。暗号化されたメッセージは最後の作戦報告書の1000ヶ月前に始まった。沈黙の2週間前に止まった。2週間前とキャンベル・アミラは言った。つまり選択的な材料の除去が起きたおおよその名は、内部の連絡者が何を来るべきか、いつ来るかを伝えた。それから連絡者は沈黙した。取り決めが完了したか、あるいは、または来た人たちが連絡者にこれ以上の用がなかったかと、チェンバース・アメアは言った。隠された氷とパーカー・メアリーはアーカイブの部屋のドアウェイに立ちながら言った。誰も知らない氷、見出されずにセクターを移動させる氷。より大きな作戦のための供給率とブラウン・カサンドラは言った。どんな組織であれ、今このセクターを不可事に資産を移動させる能力を持っている。おじいちゃんとブラウン・カサンドラは言った。研究は報告の視点で血流時期%完成していた。そして2ヶ月で完成するなら、チャートは緊急準備できている。またはとても近い。ブリッジは2秒高だった。チェンバース・アメア。連携系の機種の放射線マッピングを研究ログからのカサンドラの推定完成パラメータでクロスリファレンス。それらの輸送ルートの投影を構築しろ。構築中とチェンバース・アメアは言った。すでに、キャンベル・アミラ、研究ステーションに連絡するために作った暗号化通信ネットワーク。 完全なアーキテクチャをマッピングして糸を虹ジプロトコルを使っているこのセクターの他の連絡点があるか知りたい。2番目の部分に急に取り組んでいるとキャンベル・アミラは言った。プロトコルはセクターデータベースの他の3つの暗号化通信記録に現れる。2つはハイアクティブとフラグが立てられていて、1つはライブのようだ。ライブのようなものとパーカー・プリンスは言った。はい、おじいちゃん。一時停止、キャンベル・アミラにとって珍しく次の部分が強調を必要とすることを意味した。連行系の第2アームの外弦のリレーステーションで動作している。完成した出動ルートチャートが手術する正確な板書。パーカー・プリンスは連行系の第2アームの外弦を曲げた。リレーステーションの位置を、シミを見た。肌リブを設定しろと彼は言った。シャトルが回収されたら、幽霊は本物だ。そしてアドレスを持っている。彼は歩いた。彼の後ろでパーカー・ラシームは詩人の息子たちを命じた。あなたのおじいちゃんは、と彼は適切な音量で言った。幽霊が本物だと認めた。知っているとパーカーにシールは言った。つまり、私たちが幽霊を追って時間を無駄にしていると言ってた時、ビハキャンを言ってた。知っているとパカにしろヘンズだ。彼はこれを認めないだろう。知っているとパカにしろは言った。パーカー・ラシームはこれを考えた。おじいちゃんが好きだ。彼は確率しくて、ほぼ全てについて正確に正しくて、時々壮大に間違っている。そして私は両方のことで彼が好きだ。知っているよ、お父さん。とパーカー・ニシールは言った。彼は知ってるか？廊下を過ぎながらパーカー・ニシームが言った。彼は知らない方が好ましい。パーカー・ラシームは回廊を続ける息子たちを目にした。イカランダー、家族の中に十分長くいて、そのすべての矛盾を理解して、無冠に一時的にそれらを素晴らしいと思うことを選んだだけ、体かの特定の会議読みで、ブラウン・カサンドラはナビゲーションインターフェースでパーカー・メアリーを見つけた。研究チームの最後のログエントリーとパーカー・メアリーは言った。読んだとブラウン・カサンドラは言った。彼女は混乱を通じて安全な便を描くことは信仰によって構想することのようだと言った。はい、とブラウン・カサンドラは言った。パーカー・メアリーはしばらく静かだった。それが私たちのすることと彼女は言った。毎回、すべての時代に、混乱に見えるものの金を描いて安全な線を見つける。スターマツプを目にた。連携系の第2アームの外弦のリレーステーションを冷たいセンサーシグネチャとして始まってかなりより重要な何かになっていた目的地を、何を見つけるかいつもわかるわけではない。それでも行く。リレーステーションとブラウン・カサンドラは言いつた。この展開で相互したなし、中で最大のものになる。はいとパーカー・メアリーは言った。私もそう思う。花火組を見た。準備できていると彼女は言った。ブラウン・カサンドラはスターマップを目にた。マークされた目的を。はいと彼女は言った。演じた自信ではなく、証拠に基づいた真の準備を持っている誰かの特定の根付いた鉢で、パーカー・メアリーはブラウン・カサンドラの部屋に短く手を置いた。ヴァンガードが連行系の第2ツアーに向かって転換するにつれて、スターフィールドがナビゲーションディスプレイをゆっくりとへげ抜き切って驚いた。リレーステーションへ、そこで待っている何か大きな作戦へ、この家族が理解して対処するよう求められる次のものへ。沈黙の前哨基地は後ろにあった。それが告げたものが前にあった。第3話3割、沈黙の前哨基地、彼らが覚えていたもの。